the situation with US Abrams tanks still remains ambiguous. And this fact raises many questions not only from independent experts, but also from pro-government Ukrainian Telegram channels. In particular, they cannot understand why the much-vaunted American tanks have not yet begun to help the armed forces of Ukraine on the battlefield. Many are outraged by the fact that American tanks are still in the rear, while the Ukrainian army is suffering a crushing defeat on the battlefield and retreating along the entire line of combat contact. Let me remind you that in October 2023, the United States transferred 31 Abrams tanks to Ukraine. And during all this time, American tanks have never engaged in combat against Russian forces. In fact, all this time, US Abrams tanks are just riding in the deep rear, where they are photographed and videotaped by Ukrainian soldiers and ordinary eyewitnesses. By the way, videos with American tanks in the deep rear periodically leak into the network, which causes delight in brainwashed audiences. Under these videos, you can see many enthusiastic comments, where people are quite seriously claiming that these super American tanks will bring victory to the Ukrainian army. Seeing this, one has the impression that these US Abrams tanks were sent to Ukraine only for the sake of cheap propaganda and show, and not for the achievement of the goals being set on the battlefield. We should also not forget about the recent egregious case that caused anger even among Ukrainian soldiers. Let me remind you that a month ago, another footage of an American Abrams tank appeared on the network, where it was claimed that this tank was allegedly located in the suburbs of Avdiivka. Back then, this video again delighted many pro-Ukrainian network users and gave hope to the Ukrainian soldiers in Avdiivka for salvation. However, as it turned out, it was another fake. It turned out that this American tank was filmed not near Avdiivka, but in the deep rear. Moreover, today, on February 18th, the same situation happened once again. A new video of the Abrams tank riding in Ukraine has appeared on the web. The video shows how the car gives way to an American tank, which apparently is just riding in the deep rear again. However, this video with the US Abrams tank has once again caused delight among pro-Ukrainian netizens. They again began to declare in all seriousness that the Russian army wouldn't last long thanks to the American Abrams tanks. Well, my friends, we can only hope that one day we will still see Abrams tanks in real combat in Ukraine, before the end of the current war. However, something tells me that these US tanks will share the sad fate of German Leopard tanks and British Challenger tanks as soon as they appear on the battlefield. Meanwhile, on the night of February 18th, Russia launched another massive missile attack on the territory of Ukraine. This time, Kharkiv, Kherson, Sumy, Dnipropetrovsk, and Zaporizhia regions were subjected to missile attacks. Moreover, the western part of the Donetsk region, which is under the control of the armed forces of Ukraine, was also subjected to massive missile strikes. The air alert sounded in such cities and villages as Kharkiv, Lipsy, Russky Tishki, Volchansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Kryvyi Rog, Sloviansk, and Kramatorsk. It is noteworthy that during this attack, Russia used its latest air-to-surface cruise missile, Kh-69, which in the West is considered an analog of the NATO cruise missile, Storm Shadow. It is reported that in Kherson, Zaporizhia, and Kryvyi Rog, Russian cruise missiles destroyed military warehouses of the armed forces of Ukraine, where shells for Western self-propelled guns were stored. In the northern part of Kharkiv and such settlements as Lipsy, Russky Tishki, and Volchansk, Western multiple-launch rocket systems were discovered and destroyed, with the help of which the armed forces of Ukraine launched missile strikes on Russian border towns. In Kramatorsk, Russian missiles destroyed an industrial zone with numerous active warehouses of the Ukrainian army. In Sloviansk, a large base of foreign mercenaries was discovered and destroyed. It is reported that foreign mercenaries and the Ukrainian military used the building of a local school as their place of deployment. As a result of the missile strike, this school was completely destroyed. Russian sources claim that up to 100 militants of the so-called Foreign Legion and soldiers of the Ukrainian Army's reserves may be under the rubble.